we can get started. I'm gonna dump my water into here. There we go. Welcome. We'll give everybody like 5-10 minutes to hop in and then we'll start reading. We are on chapter 9. We are on chapter 9 of our book, Queen's Peril, which is always fun. This book has been amazing so far. Yes, Minnie Mando?
Are you?
Yes. What? You can't sleep with that in. It's not good for you. You should. No.
Are you still on live?
Yes, I'm on live.
Oh.
I'm on TikTok, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Twitch.
Please.
Hi, Mindless. Everybody say hi to Minnie Mando. Minnie Mando, say hi.
Hi.
Flip over. No. Face me.
Oh.
Flip over. Hold, please. We gotta do the hair. Do. Mindless says hi.
Oh. I can't hear anyone. So.
So they can't. You won't be able to hear them. I'm not on Discord. There.
Good night.
You want to say hi on the internet? You can if you want to.
How do I do that?
Come over here. Everybody, say hi, Minnie Mando. You can wave hi over here.
What are you doing?
And you wait over here. And over here, say hi. There we go. Good night. Mwah! Love you.
I'm gonna get back for this.
Oh, my glorb. Minnie Mando really is. I am. Hi, Nerdy Bear. / Kuma. Yeah. I'm on both. I'm multi-streaming on 3 places. I am on the Clock app, I'm on the Play Button app, and I'm on the Purple app. All at once. Hello, Supreme Chancellor. What's going on? Nothing. Thank you for subscribing. We are getting ready to read the next 2 chapters of our book, Queen's Peril. We are on chapter 9, and it has been a really fun read. I'm not gonna lie, like, this book has been super fun. As far as, like, yeah, I'm on all the places. Yeah. So I will say that Queen's Peril has been super, super awesome so far. It is just such a cute book. It is really adorable. We really kind of get a sort of, what's the right words? We get a really in-depth look at Padme's handmaidens and Padme herself, because I mean, you have to, we forget regularly that Padme was a teenager when she was elected queen. She was 14. Which 16, okay, yeah, 16, leader of a country, it's weird, but at the same time, 16, kind of mature-ish, reaching, thank you for the dollar follow. I mean, 16-year-olds are kind of mature-ish. Not really. I just spent my evening teaching 14, actually, I think the youngest is 10, so I spent my entire evening this evening and all this week, every evening, teaching 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds about the Lord. Which sounds really silly, but that's kind of what it was. And it was insane. But teenagers are insane. But that being said, Padme was 14 when she was elected to being Queen of Naboo, and when we get to the events of The Phantom Menace, she's around 15, 16 years old. And when you're watching the story, you kind of forget that she is that young. She was incredibly mature for her age, incredibly gifted politically, prior to being elected queen. But 16 and 14, 16-year-old, that's really young to be leading an entire planet. On top of that, so we're getting to know her handmaidens, and her handmaidens range in age from 12 to 14. Um, Minimanda will be 11 in 7 days. Her birthday is, she's almost 11. But to think of like, and she's very mature for her age. So, like, to think of her being a handmaiden to protect the queen of an entire planet at just 12 years old is absolutely bonkers. Just to think about something like that. So, like I said, I'm definitely enjoying Queen's Peril. It has been an amazing read so far. Honestly, if I wasn't reading it to you guys at 2 to 4 chapters at a time, I would have finished this book in a heartbeat because I want to know what happens next. Honestly, I mean, obviously, we kind of know where the story's going to go because it is Star Wars. We do know that this is the book that precedes The Phantom Menace, which I think, like, part of this book actually takes place at the same time as The Phantom Menace. But just to, like, have this sort of behind the scenes look at Padme / Queen Amidala, the handmaidens and all that is just, it's great. I'm in love with this book. I could not recommend it enough. But it's definitely a YA book. It is not an adult. It's not for adults. It does not, the grammar and everything like that. It's a very simplified section, so it's definitely for younger readers. But I love it. It's so great. Oh, I gotta get this Vader poster back up. My Vader poster fell down. And I have to get my Anakin poster put up. Because I got a new Anakin poster by the same guy who did my 5s and my Vader. Terry Huddleston. So I need to get a new poster from him. Or I need to get it hung up. It's downstairs. And I gotta get my old Anakin poster set up. So anyway, are we ready? I don't know where Omni is. I will share with Omni and Luna, because I know that they like making sure they're here for reading. There she is. Okay. I will send the live to them, and then we will get started. And if you guys are not aware, so normally I would go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but this week has just been bananas, so I did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tomorrow is D&D. D&D live supposed to be. Hopefully. Probably. Hey, Mindless. If we don't have D&D tomorrow, do we want to try an Unbridled Chaos session? Oh, you weren't there for that. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Or were you there for that? I don't remember. That was so long ago. So we've decided that if Terry can't make it, we're just going to have a ad-lib session of our characters just hanging out and creating lore. I think that was what Babs and Artemis and I decided to come up with when we were all together at the Virginia Ren Fair. So just as a side note, we've now decided that if Terry can't make it, we're just going to have an Unbridled Chaos session where we all just kind of get together and BS and create lore, because you know that's what we do when we get together. So, yeah. Thentali's not here, so he can't attest, because Thentali was there when we had this conversation too. So, anyway, yes. So then a BS session. Yes. So tomorrow, even if there is no actual technical D&D, which I will be really sad if there's not, because I love playing D&D, but if there's not, we're going to have an unbridled, I'm just calling them Unbridled Chaos sessions, because it's us, and anytime that we're together, it's just Unbridled Chaos anyway. So yeah. I'm just gonna put that out there. Okay. Yeah, Unbridled Chaos session tomorrow. Make sure you are following me. I don't know if I do that on the clock app, only because sometimes the clock app gets a little weird when I do my D&D stuff. It tells me that I'm unoriginal and it's boring, and I guess they don't share it out to the ether. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, so make sure you are following me on the play button and the purple app, just in case, because that's going to be the best way to view D&D / Unbridled Chaos sessions. So, the only way I could think of, like, I could stream it to the clock app is if I put up, like, Baldur's Gate while I'm doing it, or something. If I put up another video game while I'm doing it, it might work on the clock app, but I don't know. I just know that sometimes it gets weird. So, Stormy, stop licking your paws, man. That's how you get hairballs. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Oh, you're a good boy. Yeah. So, anyway, that's the plan for today, or for tomorrow anyway. So if there is no D&D, which I'm still hoping that there is, it will be an Unbridled Chaos session of all of us. I know Babs will be recovering from surgery, so I don't know if Babs is going to be there either way. I don't know. Thantali said he's going to be taking care of Babs, which is probably why Thantali is not on tonight, because Thantali is probably taking care of Babs because Babs has surgery tomorrow. Which reminds me, I'm going to wish Babs a good luck. Babs is not online? What is this? I do not like this. Hang on. Good luck tomorrow, Babs. There we go. Anyway, so I'm hoping that Babs is all good tomorrow for surgery. So, anyway, shall we read? We are on chapter 9 of our book, The Queen's Peril. Or just Queen's Peril. It's just Queen's Peril, not The Queen's Peril. It's Queen's Peril. Chapter 9. The apprentice sat in the dark waiting for his master's call. He'd lingered in the shadows for years now, ever since he had been chosen, and it was starting to grate on his nerves. He knew that this was intentional. It made him angry to wait. To be pushed to the side while his master manipulated the galaxy without him. It made him feel unwanted and, worse, unneeded. And of course, that made him angry too. I guess we're talking about Maul. Maul had mastered anger a long time ago. He'd wrestled with it in the deep caves of Dathomir as a child, and he'd wrestled so loudly that it had drawn his master's attention. Most would have let the anger burn them up. Most would have flared out in glorious rage, taking untold numbers with them in the blackness of the void, but not Maul. Maul was made for better things, and his anger was his fuel. He was working on hatred. There were just so many things to hate. He hated the way the fog on Dathomir had clouded his vision and made the witches stronger. He hated the way he had been cast aside as a male child until some off-worlder saw his use. He hated that some off-worlder for training so astutely, thus through such pain and suffering, and then not letting him loose to wreak the same upon the galaxy. Most of all, he hated the Jedi. They hadn't come for him. He didn't know if they had sensed him and found him unworthy, or if, in his untrained state, he had not been worth their time. But it didn't matter. They had ignored him, passed him over for some unknown reason, even though he had been better served by their neglect. He was more powerful with his anger than he could have been without it. He counted the days until he could make them pay. The pieces of his lightsaber hovered in the air in front of him, separated from the wholeness while he tinkered with the alignment for the 100th time. The lightsaber was death. This, too, was something he had been forced to grapple for. Every part of it was stolen, and every part of it was irrecoverably. Irrecoverably. Cheese and crackers. His, paid for in blood and pain, only some of which had been his own. He focused, calling on the well of darkness inside him, the parts that had scared the younger witches and now delighted his master so much. With the ease of much practice, he pulled the saber together, the parts aligning as easily as everything else in his life had not. When it was completed, he stretched out his hand, pressed the button, and lost himself in the hum. If asked, Maul would say he feared nothing. He was wrong. Chancellor Valorum did not enjoy the meeting with the Trade Federation. He was not allowed to admit it in public, but he harbored a vague distaste for senators who represented corporations, not planets. Senators that represent corporations and not planets, huh? It was an outdated viewpoint, which was just one of the reasons he had kept his dislike a secret. Most of the galaxy believed that a person's employer had just as much right to a place in the government as a person did. No, they don't! But that didn't mean he had to like it. Only that he must, in his current position, pretend to. The tax situation was starting to get ridiculous. Any other bill that had failed in the Senate so many times would have been shoved under a rug by now. But for some reason, variations on this one kept coming back. It was not unlike being haunted, except instead of a ghost that might be exorcised, it was bureaucrats that would just not stop talking about it. You cannot expect the mid-rim planets to accept that, Senator Palpatine argued, both barely bothering to moderate his tone for the Chancellor's office. They don't have coffers that deep. This was the fourth committee meeting Valorum had hosted in hope of avoiding a general brawl in the Senate chambers. The blue-shrouded senatorial guards inspired some sense of decorum from the delegates, and the wide window kept the atmosphere light and airy. So far, at least. It had been all for naught. Nothing had been agreed upon. Hi, Omni! The Trade Federation is happy to offer aid to any planet that requires it, Lot Dodd fired back. We have been over this several times, Senator. Senator Yarua, the Wookiee delegate, said something too quickly for Valorum to understand. The speaker's emotions were clear enough, but Valorum looked down to the screen to get the translation. No, Senator, Palpatine said. I don't think the terms of that aid would be very attractive either. A chime sounded from the comm system, indicating that the allotted time for the meeting was over. Everyone had somewhere else to be. Valorum did his best not to look too put out. At this stage, a floor fight was starting to look inevitable. Walk with me, Senator, he said to Palpatine as the others filed out. The Neimoidians looked affronted, but Valorum trusted enough to be beyond such petty accusations of favoritism. Still, he sent Masamita with the trade delegation in the hope that the presence of the vice chair would make them feel better. Oh, yay, Luna! I missed you! I apologize, Chancellor, Palpatine said as the two men made their way down the corridor toward the senator's office. I didn't mean to be so aggressive in there. Palpatine apologizing for being too aggressive. Funny. It's your own planet, Valorum said with some sympathy. No one can blame you for feeling a bit emotional about it. Thank you, Palpatine said. Do you think we would benefit at all from having an independent moderator step in? Valorum asked. A Jedi, you mean? Are you into flat Earth? I mean, if I'm into the flat Earth that I'm standing on, then sure. If you mean, do I believe that the Earth is flat? No, I don't. No, sorry. I believe in science. A Jedi, you mean? Palpatine said, appearing surprised. I hadn't thought of that. I don't think we're that far gone. I'd hate to impinge upon senatorial privilege until needed to. You're probably right, Valorum said. The Jedi were a good solution, but an extreme one. It wouldn't do to call them over in a trade dispute before all the arguments were presented. That was the sort of thing that had happened outside of Coruscant. They reached Palpatine's office, and the senator took his leave. Valorum continued back to his chambers. It was good to have sensible allies. Aw, thanks, BMX boy. Oh my! We're getting an Anakin call in. Huh. Shmi Skywalker watched as their son's pod racer caught fire and crashed into a dune. She wanted to scream, to rage that Watto had made him do it when it wasn't safe. No other humans had ever competed in a pod race, and Anakin's dubious record was in jeopardy every time he waited at the start line. But she could do nothing. She couldn't protest or argue, couldn't barter or trade. She had nothing of her own to give. Except Anakin himself, of course, which Watto already knew and took advantage of it at every turn. The med droids reached the pod racer right after the fire suppressors kicked in, and Shmi could see them pulling apart the tangled metal in search of a survivor. At least he hadn't been thrown this time. He'd crashed on a rocky part of the raceway. Not that the sand was much softer when you hit it at speed. Even aflame, the pod racer was moderately safer than a body slam into the ground. Watto hovered over, the flap of his wings giving him away long before he reached her, even though she didn't turn around. The boy's fine, he said. Like always. Someday it won't be always, Watto, Shmi said. Maybe someday he'll stop ruining my pod racer, too, Watto said, laughing. He flew off to collect his winnings. He never bet on his own. Obviously. And Shmi resumed waiting for the med droids to finish. Shmi went to the racing pit where they would bring him. She was a familiar face down there. Droids weren't exactly known for their sympathetic glances, but she felt like they were all giving them to her as she walked to the medical area. She arrived just before Anakin did. He was on a stretcher. It dwarfed his small form, and they quickly transferred him to a cot. He didn't appear to be bleeding too badly, but Shmi couldn't tell if he'd injured anything internally. It's okay, Mom, he said when he saw her there. He was still full of adrenaline, beyond pain in riding the high of the race. He loved it so much, and he knew he had so few things to love. This was the real reason she could never deny him. Sorry, water break. Annie, she said, and she ruffled his hair. They're going to put me out while the Bacta knits my femurs, he chirruped. Shmi lifted the cover and saw that both his legs were twisted. That, at least, Watto would happily pay to fix. Don't worry, Mom, Anakin said. I'm always going to be with you. He reached for her hand and she took it. It was ridiculous that she'd accepted this as a comfort in this situation. Lately, Anakin was embarrassed when she mothered him in public. But she didn't know what else to do. If she started screaming, she would never stop. Can I just say that I know how it feels to be a mother of a 10-year-old who no longer wants them to have their mother them in public? And it hurts. I still want to be called Mommy. How did it went from Mama to Mommy to Mom and now bruh. Bruh. I hate it. I'm glad that my children are growing up and they're happy and they're successful and they're individuals and all those things, but it still hurts. She'll be 11. She will be 11 in 7 days, and it just, ugh. I am good, Victor. How are you? I just threw it in a messy bun earlier because I was painting and I didn't want paint in my hair. You'll have to step back now, ma'am, the droid said. The medical droids were rustic, but efficient. Before long, Anakin was unconscious, and they were working on his legs. Shmi had to look away when the bones started moving. There was only so much her heart could take. Someday it won't be always, she said, and it was a promise to them both. Aw, thank you. Yoda sat in a small garden in the Jedi Temple where he was usually left alone. Today, however, his meditations were interrupted by Mace Windu, who had come all the way out to talk to him, even though he had just been in the council chamber a few hours before. Questions not fit for the others you have, Yoda asked, as Windu took a seat on the grass beside him. Embarrassing, are they? No, Master Yoda, Windu had said. He had never responded well to Yoda's particular brand of humor, even as a youngling. It was one of the reasons Yoda kept it up. Yoda let him sit on it for a while longer, until finally the younger Jedi cracked. You sense something, Windu said. Something you haven't told anyone else about. So clever you are, Master Windu, Yoda said, and so close to the truth. But think you not in the right direction, I say. What other direction is there, Master? Windu asked. Either you sense something or you sense nothing. Yoda took another moment to not reply. If he waited long enough, they almost always figured it out on their own. It was his favorite method of teaching. A senior year and then a master's in social work. Oh, ouch! You sense nothing, Windu said after a while. Master, there is always something. Open your mind, Master Windu, Yoda said. If sense nothing is, something must it be. Windu leaned forward, resting elbows on knees and chin in hands. He managed to make it look graceful, which was not always easy for human males. No, he said finally, nothing can never be something. They are opposites. So sure you are, Yoda said. Reassuring it is. Never so sure of myself am I. You think differently, Windu said. It was starting to feel like a debate with Qui-Gon, and neither of them really enjoyed those. I think I sense nothing, Yoda said. Presume anything after that, I do not. Yoda waited while Windu thought through his next question. There was no point in asking if Yoda was afraid, because he would only turn the question back, and Windu didn't enjoy that sort of exposure. What? Why are you whining? Can you sit? Sit. Sit. Good boy. Yoda waited while Windu thought through his... I've already read the part. Windu didn't enjoy that sort of exposure. All he could do was follow his lessons, the ones he had received as a boy and given as a knight and master in the temple. He must let it go. The Force would tell him when it was time, and he must not allow himself to be distracted by Yoda's behaviors. I trust your judgment, Master Yoda, he said at last. I know if there is an answer, you will find it. Yoda didn't respond. Instead, he closed his eyes and reached for the calm of the living force flowing through him. After a few minutes, he felt Windu get up and leave him alone with his thoughts, which was his favorite place to be. The light surrounded him, the dark a comfortable distance from the limits of his perception. And yet there was something. Rather, there was nothing, and it eluded him completely. Oh, he's probably sensing Palpatine at this point, but Palpatine kind of shrouded himself in darkness, so in a sense, there is a big giant hole where there should be living force. At least that's what I'm guessing is happening here. I don't actually know, because I didn't write the book, but that's my guess. What? There's no food! Stormy, can you sit? Sit. Lay down. Good boy. Shall we keep going? Everybody still awake? This book, I love this. And I'm gonna keep going. Chapter 10. The sunlight through the windows of the throne room gave the marble an opalescent sheen. The glass had been treated to throw rainbows against the ceiling when the light caught it at certain angles, and the wall hangings were muted colors to allow anyone in the room to fully appreciate them. Occasionally, the decorations in the room served as a distraction from what was going on within it. But today, no one was looking anywhere other than at the queen. Amidala was clad in purple. Her underdress was completely covered by the stiff velvet of her outermost layer, except at her collar where soft lavender curled around her neck. For the rest, she might have been a statue. The dress was embroidered so heavily that it weighed itself down. Instead of using tricks around the hem to make sure everything stayed in place, a deep green sash completed the look. The style was a little severe, which was reflected in Amidala's stoic expression, and the queen was covered from wrists to ankles. Her headpiece was unusually simple, consisting of a wig that had been styled with coiled braids and a crown, each highlighted by a purple and green gem. A silver comb had been tucked into the back of the braid crown, and a silver-purple veil hung down behind her head. It had taken Rabe and Erte nearly an hour to secure all the pins that held it in place. Padme was almost afraid to move her head. Queen Amidala had requested the presence of the governor and several advisors today. None of them had turned her down, naturally, even though she had given no reason for her summons. Governor, representatives, Queen Amidala said. There was no mistaking the voice now. It was pitched low and grated a bit, but it definitely attracted attention. We thank you for attending us today. Of course, Your Highness, Pibble said. We wish to inform you that we will be hosting a summit at the Royal Palace in 2 weeks' time, Amidala continued. Since this was news to everyone, they all appeared a bit startled. A summit for whom, Your Highness, the Minister of Internal Affairs asked. After a moment, she added, Your Highness. Amidala nodded to show that there was no hard feelings. For our counterparts on the planets in the Chomel sector, she said. There was a long silence at that. Your Highness, Bibble said reluctantly. He looked desperately uncomfortable. You're the only queen in the Chomel sector. You misunderstand us, perhaps, Governor, Amidala said graciously. Allow a clarification. We will invite the politicians from those planets who serves as head of state, regardless of the titles that they hold. Your Highness, said Graf Sapalo. Why? It has come to our attention that our trade overtures were not well received, Amidala said. There was a slight understatement. Carlinus had immediately responded that they had no surplus, and Jafan had failed to respond at all. We wanted to invite our counterparts here so that we might discuss matters in person and discover where the problem lies. They couldn't actually stop her. They could make her life difficult, which was why she was telling them at all, but they couldn't prevent the summit from happening. All they could do was voice their displeasure and make her explain herself in very small words. Your Highness, Bibble said, surely the matter of a bit of grain is not so important that we have to take such drastic measures. It could be seen as confrontational. She had expected Bibble to be her staunchest ally in this matter. It was well known that he was as interested in reopening interplanetary relations as she was. In a flash, she knew he was letting her win them over. Once he stopped protesting, they wouldn't have any defense left. It isn't just the grain, Governor, Amidala said. I want to talk about all the trade and relations between the planets in our own system. It's a lofty goal, Bibble said, conceding the point, and a worthwhile one, I think. Captain Panaka, Bibble said, Captain Panaka, Amidala turned slightly to address him. Do you have anything to say? There was no reason at all to ask her head of security to weigh in on this point. Panaka didn't hold a legislative position, and he had no say in any of the decisions the Queen came to in terms of policy. Rabe had suggested they ask him in public, and Sabe had agreed. It wouldn't be able to argue too much if they were witnesses. There would be a lot to organize, Your Highness, he said slowly. He knew what they were up to, and they could discuss the practical details later with fewer witnesses. In addition to any palace security, we would have to share plans in place for any excursions you took the visitors on. We would take your suggestion into account for anything outside the palace. It was her peace offering. You know best the problems we might face. She waited to see what Panaka would do. He took a moment and then proved Rabe correct. While I don't think the security of the Queen has anything to do with the summit directly, he said, any relations in the sector would involve planetary security, and that affects both the Queen and the rest of you. It's not an openly defensive move, but it doesn't make us look vulnerable either. Thank you, Captain, Amidala said. She turned back to the advisors. Oh, I think I got a blister. They looked uncomfortable, but they were out of arguments. She had won, so she could afford to be gracious. She did her best to make the summit bother them as little as possible. Your Highness, Zapalo said, we will await further direction on how we may assist you in this matter. Thank you, Amidala said. Bibble reminded them that they had legislative vote that afternoon, and they took their leave as a group. None of them were grumbling too noticeably, at least. Amidala waited for the room to clear before she turned back to Panaka. Captain, she said. I don't love it, he said, but I can see why you would want to do it. Thank you for your support, Amidala said. I'm sorry we surprised you along with them. She would have sworn she heard one of the other guards muffle a laugh. I do welcome your suggestions, Captain, she said. I'll come up with more than a few, I'm sure, Panaka said. Padme didn't doubt it for a second. Panaka's list was not as extensive as she had feared. Most of it was common sense. The blast doors that protected the throne room, for example. They were all tested, and when one of them was found to be faulty, the mechanism was replaced. A survey of the palace and grounds was conducted, looking for weak spots in Panaka's grid, and right behind the guards came a small army of cleaning droids and gardeners to make sure everything was perfect for guests. They had one argument about the throne itself. You want to tear apart a priceless antique and plant a blaster in it? Amidala demanded. The corridor outside her suite was not really the place for this argument, but Padme had been so annoyed when she read the listed item that she barged out into the hall to talk to him about it. Padme was not overly worried. It wasn't like anyone on this floor was unaware of her stance on taking arms. It won't tear it apart, Panaka said. I was going to let Erte do it. She's your engineer, after all, and she probably wants a challenge. Erte had spent the better part of a month engineering the Queen's new wardrobe to be as functional as it was ostentatious, and if the number of sketches crowding the desk in the sitting room was any indication, she was hardly bored. And the blaster? Padme said. It'll be a small model, Panaka said, just a little power cell, and only for emergencies. If you're going to have foreign dignitaries in there with you, I want you prepared for the absolute worst. Oh, so that's how she gets a blaster in the throne. Also, Omni and Luna, I think you guys missed it last night. So last night or maybe it was Tuesday, they went through, like, each handmaiden kind of has a super special skill. So, like, Sabe is really good at keeping her face neutral and speaking neutrally and helping Padme control her emotions and face so that she never gives away, like, what she's thinking. And then you have Rabe, who is apparently a con artist. Erte is an engineer. Yane is good at dresses, like, I forget what Yane. I don't remember what Yane does. And then Sache is like super young and like super small. So she's a page. So like the way that they've picked the handmaidens is because they each have their own like super special skill. They all also kind of all look like Padme, but it's really funny that she picked all these girls that each have their own like special skill that will help the queen do stuff. Just a side note. And also their real names are not yes, that's right. So and Yane and Sabe and Rabe and Sache and Erte are not their real names. Like they had different names. Sabe was Sabin, so Sabe, S-A-B-E, was actually Sabin, T-S-A-B-I-N. Erte is Ertama. Rabe is Rabin. Sache is... It was kind of the same. It's Sachen or something. Like, it was really close. Yane was the only one that was really different. But it's really fun. Sachin! It was Sachin, and then Sachin became Sache. But yeah, it's been really... And I'm thinking we've gone, like... There's been 2, like, special chapters in here so far that went over Sabe and Rabe and like who they are as like individuals, really individuals, kind of as an aside. And I'm gonna guess, yes, by the end of the book, it looks like there's an aside like mini chapter for each handmaiden, which is kind of cool. Just as a side note. Padme leaned back against the window and sighed. San Andrasa hadn't admitted very many off-worlders to the throne room, and none of them had been violent. Surely no one would be so offended by 2 years of relative silence from Naboo's monarch that they would attack her in their own throne room. Yet Panaka was usually open to modifying his plans if they discussed them with her. Over Panaka's shoulder she could see Sabe. Her face was carefully neutral. It wouldn't hurt to expand your experience with weapons, Your Highness, Sabe said carefully. It sounded like she was awarding the point to Panaka, which was not quite what she was doing. Some of them did. Sabe did. Sabe survived the Clone Wars. And obviously, by the time we get to Attack of the Clones, one of her handmaidens has been switched out for Corday, because Corday is the one who dies at the beginning of Attack of the Clones. But she keeps her handmaidens throughout the thing. But Sabe survives because Sabe is in the comics. Whenever Padme complained that she felt pushed into a corner by the demands of her guards, court, or colleagues, Rabe would remind her that it was easier in the long run to agree now and then press her advantage later. If they let Panaka have this, then Erte could design something Padme would approve of, and Panaka would still think he had won. This was how Sabe reminded her of that. It wasn't a particularly subtle code, but the words they used were different every time, and so far it had worked well enough. What if there were 2 blasters? Padme asked. Panaka was clearly surprised. I mean, if I'm the only one who has one, there's not much point. If we're going to arm one person, we might as well arm 2. I can make it work with 2, Erte said. I like it, Panaka said, and it was decided. Very well, Captain, Padme said. Erte will have designs to you the day after tomorrow. Do you have anything else that needs to be done this evening? No, Your Highness, Panaka said. Thank you. Padme went back into the suite and sank with a huff into a chair in the sitting room as soon as the door was closed. Even if we never use it, I know I'll always know it's there, Padme said. I'll always know what we think we might have to be scared of our neighbors. You'll be the only one who can open it, Erte promised. That was something, at least. No one was going to break the blasters out willy-nilly, and I'll make sure I don't ruin the throne. Thanks, said Padme dryly. She let Yane and Sache take her headpiece off now, and they were in for the night, and accepted the face cloth from Rabe to clean her makeup off. The advisors are coming around, Sache reported when she returned from the dressing room. Several of them were asked about the summit after the legislative session today, and they all managed to answer without looking like they disapprove. I guess there's a reason Bibble kept getting elected, Rabe commented. They watched Erte sketch the blaster cabinets and listened to her talk out loud about her plans until Sabe began to second guess them and the conversation turned snarky. That's the thing that I like about this is like, yeah, they're very mature teenage girls, but then they keep throwing in parts that are like, yep, they're still teenage girls. Just let me build a prototype before you dismiss it completely, Erte finally said. You're missing the whole point, and honestly, I'm starting to think you're doing it on purpose. Sabe opened her mouth to make a reply and then shut it firmly when she saw Padme's expression. Can you pick non-mechanical locks, Rabe? She asked instead. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Well, it's closer to slicing than picking, said Rabe, but of course I can. There were non-mechanical locks on several of Amidala's jewelry boxes, so Rabe and Yane fetched them for the dressing room, and they all took turns trying to break in without destroying the box. At least we didn't have to ask Panaka for these, Sache said, laughing gleefully as she finally cracked a lock open on her own. I imagine you'd have a few questions, yes, Rabe agreed. Now see if you can do it in less than 2 minutes. It took another hour before their times were consistently within Rabe's targets, and by then, Erte had almost finished building a scale model of the throne with the modifications she wanted to add to the real ones. Sabe tested the problems she thought she had identified and found it didn't exist. You changed it, she said. Of course I did, Erte told her. Just because I still don't think it has a weakness doesn't mean I'm going to let it pass. You could have said something, Sabe said. I missed the expression on your face right now, Erte replied. See, that's why you shouldn't lick your paws, you get hairballs. Mm-hmm. The dog's fine. He just licks his paws so much that he gets hairballs. It's weird. Of course I did, Erte told her. Just because I still don't think it has a weakness doesn't mean I'm going to let it pass. You could have said something, Sabe said. And missed the expression on your face right now, Erte replied. I don't think so. This is why Panaka thinks he's aged 10 years since the election, Sache said. This right here. Here's to the next 10, I guess, Erte said, lifting her teacup in a toast. And the 10 after that, said Sabe. I love this. I love every bit of this. I love this book. Oh my gosh. It's just so good. Stormy! Come here. There. We're just getting so much of like the personalities of the handmaidens that we don't normally get out of the films. It's such a it really is an amazing book. I mean, it's an easy read because it's obviously a YA book. We're only halfway through. Look at that. But still, this book is just so gosh darn good. I can't wait to read the next one, which is like 2 books from now. What is it? Queens. I have it downstairs. I already own it. Because I bought them out of order. Oops. Hang on. Where do the Padme books fit in the timeline? Okay, so Queen's Peril will be right after Phantom Menace then, it looks like. What book comes after Phantom Menace? I don't actually know. Let's look at the timeline. Because this book is going by really quick, so... And I already have the Phantom Menace. So Rogue Planet is the one after Phantom Menace, so... I guess. Well, no, because we have the Scoundrels book from Omni to read, so we'll have to do that one after A New Hope. So after A New Hope, we'll read Scoundrels, and then we'll read not A New Hope. After Phantom Menace, sorry, after Phantom Menace, we will read Scoundrels. And then we will read the next Padme book. Because the Phantom Menace book is actually pretty short. It's not that long of a book. Looking forward to 2028. Wait, why? Why? What happens in 2028? Did it happen? It didn't happen, right? It's not happening right now. I don't hear any fireworks. No, it shouldn't take that long. I mean, like I said, we're over halfway. We're almost halfway through this book. And then we'll read The Phantom Menace. Because it'll take that long to read the other books. No. We're going to read Scoundrels after Phantom Menace. And then after Scoundrels, we'll read Queen's Shadow, which I have downstairs somewhere. I already own Queen's Shadow because I bought that one first. No, there's just 2 books. There's 2 books. So we're going to finish Queen's Peril. And then we're going to read The Phantom Menace. Then we're going to read Scoundrels. And then we're going to read Queen's Shadow. Queen's Shadow? Is that the next one? Queen's Shadow. So we have our next 4 books. Hey, I've been a lot more consistent about reading on live. Which is super dumb because I actually am making less money than I used to. At least a year before we get to it? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, how many... I don't know. This book is not going to take very long. 24? Alright, so there's 25 chapters. We're on chapter 11. So 14... 7 more days. 2 weeks. Should take us about 2 weeks to finish it. This book. And then probably a month and a half to do The Phantom Menace. The Senate filibuster. Oh no. Hang on. Acquaintance of mine visited a forest in California and made me want to book a trip. Oh, I wonder who that could be. It was a lot of fun, by the way. But if you're scared of heights, don't drive. Although I went to... So, Endor is actually California Redwoods Forest in Northern California. Sequoia is not part of the Star Wars universe, but the Senate recesses. Are we talking about Cloak of Deception, the most boring Star Wars book ever written? There is, I might read 3 chapters a night next week, even as a bonus. I might just start reading 3 chapters a night, because I'm never hitting my live goals. Never happens anymore. But, I will say this, though. I will probably read 3 chapters a night next week. And I might go live on Saturday this week. It depends. Because we're going to have another... I will be off for another week. And then there's no way I can go live. Because I will be on the Eastern Shore of Virginia running a summer camp for children. And by 10 p.m., I will be out like a light. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. That we are working at a church and running a summer camp in a church that's like the size of my living room. It is a tiny, tiny place, and I take 30,000 steps a day. Competition in 3 weeks. Check them for life. Check the children for life? I don't do none of that nonsense. No way. Ew, gross. No, thank you. So, yeah. In 2 weeks, I will be in Cape Charles, Virginia, running a splash camp. So, I will not be here for the week of July 12th through the 17th. I think we have D&D on the 17th, so I will be on for D&D because I come home on Friday, but, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be absolutely exhausted. Yeah. Oh, I needed to call my mother. I'll do it later. Unfortunately, we have a church bus that we use, and unfortunately, our bus has finally decided to kick it, which means we don't have a way to transport around our youth to all of their various events, so that's fun. We got our butts kicked in Cyberpunk. Oh no! So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Where's my pants? I'm wearing pants! They're shorts. It's jammies. They're jammies, I promise. I'm wearing pants. This is TikTok, not mostly pans. No, it's pants. It's a shirt and shorts. Trust me. I do not, no, I don't do any of that nonsense. I don't think anybody would watch it anyway. So, no one wants to see this. A 37-year-old mother of two. No one wants to see that. Only Star Wars. That's right. Well, I think it's Katieosaurus who does like ADHD content on TikTok. She has a mostly pans. And as far as I know, her mostly pans is her dressed as a Twi'lek. Just saying. She has mostly pans. Dressed as a Twi'lek. But still, no. Ooh, so sleepy. So yeah. I'm hungry. Why am I so hungry? So anyway, D&D tomorrow. Definitely make sure you're following me on the Play Button app and the Purple app. LANK in the BIO, to quote Mr. Pierre. Do I know Cosplayer Galaxy Princess? I might. I know so many cosplayers on this app. It's difficult to say which ones. And I've only met like a handful of them in person. Single-Hearted Time Lady I've met in person. She's super awesome. Trust a Twi'lek. Met her in person. She's also super cool. And her boyfriend, her husband, they're married now. They're super cool. There's like a few that I'm not mutuals with that I've also met in person. One of them is like a Vox, like does a lot of Has-Been Hotel cosplays. They actually have my favorite Vox cosplayer on here. Yeah. There's just a lot. There's so many. The fun thing is like some of them is I did not intend to meet them at a con, and then I ended up meeting them at a con, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I know you too." That's how it was with Single-Hearted Time Lady. I met her at GalaxyCon Richmond this past year. And she also helped me with my Padme dress, so she told me, like, she gave me some things that I needed to fix before I put it into apps, which I still haven't fixed because I haven't had time to fix it because I'm slammed. I did buy some things on Prime Day. I know, I participated in capitalism, and I feel absolutely terrible about it, but I did participate in Prime Day, and I got myself a reciprocating sander. It's mainly so I can do like fine detailed sanding, like when I go to do things like my gauntlets. Yeah. So anyway, I am gonna hop off live. Come see me tomorrow on the Play Button app and the Purple app. Sometime between like 8, like around 8-ish. Because if we don't play D&D, we're gonna have Unbridled Chaos session. Mindless, I'm gonna come up with some things. I guess I should text Terry before I decide to like go all full type A. But I'm just gonna like come up with like a not scenario for us to do to just to like make up more lore about our characters. Maybe something that leads into the Oops All Clerics. Do you think he'd let me DM Oops All Clerics? I feel like I want to DM Oops All Clerics, but then I wouldn't be able to play Doc. Never mind. I don't want to DM Oops All Clerics because I want to still play Doc. Answered my own question. Never mind. Never mind. Anyway, I'm gonna go and get a snack and then I'm gonna go to bed because I'm hungry for some reason. Anyway, I love you guys. Come see me tomorrow on other places and hope you guys have a good day and maybe tomorrow will be the day. We never know. Love y'all.